Well, we've got a very special show today. Charles, we're joined, our first guest on the Walk and Talk, Tara Szczepanski. Hello, Tara.
Hi.
And we didn't tell her that one of the things she has to do is sing the whole way.
Can you sing?
Proud to be an American.
There you go. Oh, yeah, right. I saw you singing on your channel. Actually, it's a good opportunity for us right at the beginning here to let people know if they haven't seen Tara before, they can subscribe to her YouTube channel. It's the Polish American Brotherhood. You can find her there on YouTube, and you can see Tara versus basically Antifa. And it's quite nail-biting, but as you know, she is alive and safe and here with us. Why don't you guys tell us where we're going, Charles?
Sure, we're because we're all young, we're going to reoccupy Wall Street demonstration, which I think is organized by the Young Republicans down in Zuccotti Park, and it'll be
That's
interesting.
Gavin Wax, the Young Republicans, isn't it? Do you know him?
I'm not sure.
Well, we'll see when we get down there.
I did see the flyer though posted over in Eventbrite.
We can go.
Yeah. Now wait a minute. Look at this. We've still got our usual collection of many Verizon trucks over there.
Right.
Sorry, we lost the sound already 2 seconds in. Each week I'm doing things to try to mitigate these problems. And the other thing I need to warn everybody about, it is so cold today that the battery life may, yeah, we're already down to 84%, and this was at 100 when I started. Let's just get the audio back here. Sorry, guys.
It's all right. The walking helps us stay sort of warmer.
Yes, we're back. Okay.
So people may not be able to tell, because of our sunny dispositions, just how cold it is.
It's ridiculous.
It's 23 degrees Fahrenheit right now, and the last thing I looked at.
We got to keep moving so that way we don't turn into popsicles.
Right.
Right. And for our friends in Europe, that's less than 0.
That's right.
I got little hand warmer pads that I'm holding onto in my pocket.
I've got little finger warmer hands.
You know, not to be gross, but the further evidence of the deterioration of society is the proliferation of canine excrement
Right.
on the ground.
Yeah.
People don't care.
Exactly.
And some people want penthouses, some people want apartments where you can look at all that stuff. And of course, why clean it up? You know, wear a mask. Don't worry about that.
Has Fauci studied if dog poop can transfer
Oh,
coronavirus?
sure. We'll find out about that.
He's going to be recommending the dogs to wear masks pretty soon.
Well, now they're recommending 4 masks, but
my gosh.
I think if you're going for that anal swab, you're going to need the 5th mask.
Jesus.
I just don't think these masks are doing anything. It's amazing that we're almost a year into this thing, and they're just still prescribing the exact same precautions and treatments, despite the fact that they seem to be not helping the situation.
Right. So what we might consider doing is making a left on this one and going down Broadway, even though we're going to go a little bit out of our way, because this is pretty noisy.
Now, Charles,
Maybe with the increase of masks, it's because people are continuing to become more vocal about their expressions and opinions, so they need to muzzle them up.
I think that's right. That's absolutely right. And Tara, Charles and I have spoken a little bit about this Wall Street bets phenomenon that's going on, which I believe this Reoccupy Wall Street is going to be pretty focused on that.
Right.
What are your thoughts about the whole thing?
I mean, for me, this is going to be a lot of a learning experience because I'm not too familiar with how the stock market works, quite honestly. But it's interesting, you have gamers who, in a sense, have organized to have a form of a revolution or coup against the hedge funds, right?
Well, I mean, that is definitely what it's being positioned as. It's sort of a populist revolt, an online version of Occupy Wall Street that is purportedly challenging these hedge funds by buying the stocks that they're trying to short, and we're being told that it's kind of like a good for the goose, good for the gander kind of thing. They're just doing the same thing that the hedge funds do to the companies that they're shorting. I actually saw an interview with Jordan Belfort, I think that's the guy's name, the guy who was the Stratton Oakmont Wolf of Wall Street guy, and he said that the the Reddit users in the Wall Street Bets forum are essentially just doing what Stratton Oakmont used to do. But Charles, didn't he go to jail for a huge amount of time for that?
Yeah, so there's no question that there are crooks on Wall Street. There are crooks in government, I think we're learning. And there could be more crooks in the regulators than there are on Wall Street. But anyway, what's been going on is that these hedge funds, and hedge funds are actually, when they're run properly, and I say this as somebody who was thinking about, who had actually started a funded hedge fund. Sorry.
Just checking it live.
Yeah. They fulfill valuable functions, actually. What happens in a market for anything, if there are more buyers than sellers, the price goes up. If there are more sellers than buyers, the price goes down. And you're going to inflate bubbles, particularly at times of when people are prone to be hysterical, which is, I think, a time like right now. And so the people who, human nature is to be, generally speaking, across the massive humanities, to be optimistic, to think that tomorrow will be better than yesterday. And so you're inclined to believe a story from some manager who runs some public company saying, my company's going to do better next year than this year, and here are the 17 reasons why, buy my stock. And typically the manager doesn't tell you just the basis upon which he got to buy or she got to buy the stock, which is the company lent him the money, or he got a big bonus he didn't deserve, and so he's not really as invested as he claims to be. But anyway, against this rush of optimism, you need a counterbalance. You need people out there, as I did, and said, when everyone thought GE was fantastic, General Electric, I said it's a piece of crap. And I took people through, and it's plummeted in value. That's that function of doing analysis and then betting that the stock price or the security price will go down is something that tames bubbles. And if you constrain that, you cut that off, you're going to inflate the bubble even more. So what happened, I would argue, is that from 2001 to the present, central banks around the world have inflated gigantic bubbles by suppressing interest rates on 10-year treasuries and the like of government securities around the world. So it's the central banks who are the villains here, actually, not the hedge funds, in my view. Now, there are some bad actors in the hedge fund land, and there's some bad actors in the long side, but the basic principle is, it's one thing to express a view that you think something is overvalued, and even to say to somebody, somebody says, okay, it's overvalued, what should I do? And you say, well, if you want to bet against it, do this, do that, do something else. That's fine. What is not fine is to have a bunch of people act in concert and say, we're all going to get together as a group and start shorting something in the same way, trying to drive the price to a certain level.
Or buying it.
Huh?
Well, they're doing the opposite of shorting it.
Well, no, I'm saying either way. If you get together, you say, what we're going to do is, we all have a target of driving the price of silver from 26 or whatever it is to 400. So we're all going to buy until it gets to 400, then we're going to sell. And if you have a plan to do that and you act in concert, that's illegal.
But isn't Melvin Capital, or who is it that there was one of these hedge funds that has some relationship with Robinhood or whatever, where I was hearing that they were kind of somehow using the retail brokerages to just kind of, guarantee that they make money from the short or something like that, that this is a populist revolution against the just corruption of Wall Street in general.
Well, that's how it's sold. So the hedge fund, what happened is, you have a metric or measure, which is how many shares are sold short as contrasted to what's called the free float of a company. And the free float is you take out shares that insiders own and presumably will not sell or short, and the remainder are what the public can trade. So most liquid companies today, big ones, if you see short interest more than 1% of the float, that's unusual, 1 or 2%. In the case of some of these names that are shorted, it's 100% of the free float. So clearly,
there's more than 100%.
Well, of the free float. I was talking to my brother about this yesterday, and reminded me that it's you got to check and see the free float. But anyway, could be more, and that theoretically should never happen. You should not be able to do that. The regulators, I think, fell down on the job, letting these hedge funds get so aggressive. They can't obtain. The way you short stock is you have to borrow it from somebody else who owns it.
Right.
And when you borrow it, you have to pay an interest rate. And as the short interest rises, the interest rate rises. It gets tougher and tougher to borrow the stock. So there's a game being played here that the regulators did not catch. And now some of the people on the Robinhood side spotted this and are saying, now we're going to create what's called a short squeeze. You drive the price up. When you short, and if you're short and the price of the stock goes up, your broker says, wait a minute, you're in trouble. You're in big trouble. You have to sell everything as much as possible to cover your exposure on and you get this rocket ride up in this short squeeze, which is what they're trying to create now, I gather, in silver, in the silver ETF.
Well, I think they said that it's happening to a lot of different markets with Dogecoin, and there was American Airlines was one of them for a while.
Nokia.
So, I mean, it seems like this is a movement that's going to continue to go. And you know, Charles, I don't think we know enough about it yet to really come to a conclusion, but I agree with you that there's a lot to be suspicious of, and I think people should keep in mind that Bill Ayers was very involved with Occupy Wall Street.
Right.
And if this is a digital evolution of that movement, I think we should consider that, you know, the Weather Underground and their objectives may be part of it, which is just to create chaos and roil the market and ultimately destroy Wall Street.
Right. Right, and as I think happened on January 6th down in Washington, D.C., when you have a movement that's gathering for peaceful purposes, it's quite possible for people dressed like that guy up there with a backpack to hijack the movement and say, you know, we want the headline that says young Republicans burn down X, Y, and Z, and these people are not actually young Republicans.
That guy just crashed into the phone booth or something.
So with Robinhood, they were they stopped the sale of some of the stocks on
That's
that, right?
the other thing we need to ask Charles about is the potential illegality of Robinhood manipulating the sales of these things.
Yeah, so the issue I think in that is you were unable to buy more GameStop.
But you could still sell it.
Yeah. I mean,
so aren't they controlling the price by doing that?
Well, so I don't know the particulars of Robinhood. I haven't seen their terms of service. I don't know how they're regulated, if at all. But the same sort of thing happened in the 2008 crash, 2007, 2008 crash. The second shorts started making a lot of money, as John Paulson, my Harvard Business School classmate, made, I think personally, $4.8 billion.
Is he related to Hank Paulson?
No. Oh. He's an NYU graduate, though. He's a big donor at NYU. Very smart guy.
Not for donating money to NYU, he's not.
No, he has a fondness for it.
So you're not selling this, Charles.
Whatever. But the instant the regulators noticed that people were going to stampede and drive prices lower, they made it impossible to change the rules. They said you can't short these bank stocks. You can't short this, you can't short that. They changed the rules in the middle of the game. And that should infuriate everybody.
Right.
I mean, if you're going to have rules, they should apply.
Right.
They should be enforced evenly, and they shouldn't be enforced capriciously.
We're seeing a lot of double standards in society.
And that that incites revolutionary thinking.
Correct.
You know?
I think that is what we're getting to. And I mean, by the way, if we are talking about a digital iteration of the Weather Underground, inciting revolution is exactly what they were all about.
Right.
So, you brought up January 6th, which I think is very relevant because I happen to think that this is also the stock market equivalent of QAnon. Yeah, that guy just almost smacked into the camera, didn't he?
Right.
So I've been watching, Charles, this idiotic, I don't know if you got a chance to see this, Tara, the Vice News QAnon thing, which, I mean, that seems like a docudrama at best. The two documentarians that are in it, oh my God, look at that.
Go. Let's cross, Jason.
But just real quick, see this van?
Yeah, but let's cross before it.
COVID-19 testing in the
You
van.
want to stop in there?
No. Well, go ask them if they have the anal. Or you know how you can tell the difference between the nasal test and the anal test, right? It's the smell.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for keeping it real.
Sorry,
That's
a
all
little
right.
lowbrow there.
Oh,
But
boy.
seriously though, back onto the Wall Street bets. I mean, I think it's the investment equivalent of QAnon, right? They tell you it's something, but we really don't know what the objective is or who's behind it, who organized it. Do we know that?
I don't know. So what I would say, one of the things that's evolved for decades now is these internet sites or boards. They're all on Yahoo Finance, where you can, and other places where you, if you have a view on GE, you can look at the comments. You look under the ticker symbol, GE, and then you see what people are saying. And it'll be a robust exchange of views, including comic relief and insults and all that kind of stuff. But you should never invest based on what you see in a board like that. You need to do your independent analysis of public available stuff, especially if you're a fund. Because if you make, the way it works is if you make a spectacular profit or a bigger profit than normal, the SEC is right on your ass saying, why did you buy the stock on this day? What's the rationale? Where's your research? And what I see here is more, it sounds like a bunch of people with little financial sophistication.
Yeah, just driving the market.
Right, and that needs to be policed, actually.
Well, I tell you, it's interesting that they had Jordan Belfort on, I think it was Yahoo Finance, or I don't know, something like that. It came up on YouTube when I was watching a bunch of videos about this topic. But the internet aspect of it was what caused Stratton Oakmont to be able to work. They, if you recall, their whole thing started on Prodigy, where they were doing something similar. They were spurring people to buy the stock by going on message boards, and this is what led to the creation of the Communications Decency Act, Section 230, because the company that was the focus of Stratton Oakmont's manipulation sued Prodigy for allowing this information to go on there, and it resulted in them coming up with that protection where the operator of the interactive network can't be held responsible for the messages that are on there. And that's been the focus of all this talk about internet censorship, which I just think there's a really bad misunderstanding of what that CDA Section 230 is all about. And even when President Trump was saying it should be abolished, I don't agree with that. I think it should be enforced. And if you're going to have Zuckerberg and Dorsey and everybody editorializing the content, what that should do is just take them out of the running for not being able to be sued for the things that people post, because they're either going to police everything or police nothing.
Yeah. And so going back though to the issue of what these groups may be trying to do, I think the elements that are hostile to the United States are trying to destroy the dollar or the right of the United States to have the ability to issue paper money and have it be valuable. They're trying to undercut the integrity of the financial markets and have people run away from it and say, you can't trust anything, therefore I'm not going to buy stocks. With the idea that you crash the system. To do that, we know this. The garden gnome, Klaus Schwab, has this plan in May, the Great Reset. It's as if they know there's a crash coming, and they want to be there with all the answers when everybody's desperate and wants to blame people.
Well, is it they know that it's coming, or they're bringing it?
Yeah, exactly.
They have the answers. They just need to create the problem first.
Right.
I mean, I've had people send me excerpts from his book on the Great Reset and the various elements of the plan. And I mean, I think
Schwab write that book?
Somebody may have written it for him, I don't know, or his name's on it.
Yeah.
And it's as if AOC wrote that book when she was simultaneously drunk and on crack cocaine. I mean, it's just absolutely
is she
crazy.
hanging out with Hunter now?
They must be best friends.
Absolutely crazy stuff. We're going to stop eating meat. We won't mind that hundreds of millions of people are going to die. Many people are going to lose their jobs. You're not.
What does he mean? We won't mind. Who is he speaking for?
I guess he won't mind. But
he won't mind, right? Whoops. See, the cold is really having an effect on this stuff here. Motors and batteries and things.
Where are we on battery?
Oh, 86%. It's
86?
heating up now, I guess. Well, because it was full, so it's...
Here we have that's
wow,
Freedom
great
Tower.
view.
We better not necessarily stay too long in the front of the oncoming car.
In the middle of the street, yeah. But I like for people to be able to see the...
I got to get a picture of this car hitting Jason. This is actually not far away from where you and I did our first broadcast in
That's right.
June of 2017.
So Tara, where were you during September 11th?
I was a freshman in high school at that time. And I was in my theater class and then heading to French class. It was when the first tower hit, we were watching it in my drama class. And then we watched the second tower hit during my French class. And I remember like all of my Muslim friends their parents came and pulled them out of school.
I think I might have lost your microphone. Hang on a second here. Yeah, the battery died. Hold that for 1 second. Wow, see, these batteries are super cold. Hang on, I got an extra battery we'll put in there.
I have extra batteries too if you need.
Thank you.
I don't have any extra batteries.
Oh, Charles. How could you not? That's weird. These were all supercharged, fully...
Car.
Sorry, you were saying.
No problem. This one's working?
Another production credit for me.
Yeah, it's back. Thank you, Charles.
No problem. Don't drop it.
That's excellent advice.
So this is the famous AT&T, original AT&T building right there. I don't know if you've ever been inside it.
Is it still AT&T?
No, when AT&T was a monopoly, this is the center of the universe of AT&T. And you can see how it's now, I think, been redone as condos or something, offices.
Now, wait a minute. I don't know that I've ever noticed this obelisk with the bizarre eagle thing on it.
That's not a bizarre eagle.
But it's interesting how it's positioned with the World Trade Center there.
Huh. Thomas Addis Emmett. Is that what that says? At the top of the plaque there behind, isn't it Thomas?
I can't read it at all.
A-D-D-I-S-S?
I see Thomas, yeah.
And then the next word?
It
Maybe.
looks like Addis Ebbet, yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
You have good eyes.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm not wearing my contacts or glasses.
You don't ever wear contacts.
Or glasses.
Distance
St.
vision,
Paul's
definitely. Charles is absolutely eagle-eyed. But did that guy invent Addis Ababa or something?
No, he did not.
No,
But one of my best
This isn't the church that
friends.
Hamilton's buried at, right?
Sorry?
This isn't the church, or is
St.
it?
Paul's Chapel, it might be.
St. Paul's Chapel,
There's
or is
Trinity,
it
yeah.
Trinity? Oh, it might be
Trinity
Trinity
Chapel.
that I'm thinking of. That Hamilton is buried.
And if we,
But we can see.
we're almost there.
Keep going, right. But sorry, Tara, you were telling us what high school, what state? Like, where were you?
I was in Florida in Seminole. Seminole High School was actually our mascot for Seminole High School is the Fighting Seminoles. I wonder if they've since changed it.
Yeah, because
Sure.
it's got to be racist, right?
it'll
Yeah.
be the peaceful Seminoles. Can't depict them as fighting.
Yeah, I was. That wasn't my zone high school. I ended up transferring to another high school afterwards, but I went to an international baccalaureate program there, and I was a freshman at the time.
Where were you, Jason?
I was in the apartment that we broadcast from all the time,
Really?
eating Cheerios, and my mom called me and said, turn on the TV, and I did, and then was watching the TV, and the second plane hit, and I went up to the roof of the building where we did our
Right.
first or second interview, and I watched it burn from up there.
Yeah. I was in my New York office on a conference call with my Dublin office, and I had scheduled, reluctantly for a life insurance thing I had to get a blood test. And I just put it back and put it back and put it back, and this Philippine nurse, a male nurse, called me and said, I'm at the World Trade Center, I'll be a little late.
Oh,
Oh my
And
goodness.
that person left at like 8:10.
wow.
And arrived. We were, I think arrived late,
Wow.
and up on 55th Street Park.
Well, that guy missed it by 36 minutes.
He did, and he just walked in and said, is Charles Ortel here? Yes. It's time to do XYZ. And I said, do you have any idea how lucky you are? And we turned to let him in to watch the TV. He had no idea what had happened.
Wow. Wow.
There's quite a gathering there.
Oh yeah, look at that. We can already see it from here. That is quite a gathering.
So when I started work on here after business school, June 9th, 1980, and this would have been a I mean, the buildings are different, obviously, but this would have been a typical scene on the weekend, except there were no restaurants to speak of.
Right.
And the economy was dead. 4 years of Carter and other problems. And then Wall Street boomed in the 80s, and then people moved uptown, as our firm did, and this area went into decline until after 9/11, when a lot of it was, fell down, was knocked down, and then this became FIDI, Financial District.
Right.
So it's all, you have to come up with a fancy name. There's Pix 11.
Back to nicknames.
Yeah. Pix
But
11
that
News.
just, I think, is made up by real estate brokers.
It would appear as if there are actually people covering this, in addition to the great Jason Goodman.
See some news cameras? Independent reporters out there?
Well, there's Pix 11.
We have some police here.
A few, collecting probably triple overtime.
Right, while they watch YouTube on their phones.
And order
I
donuts.
hope they're going to subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth and becoming sponsors.
Let's see.
All that overtime money.
Here we have by way of somebody speaking, I think, over there, Jason.
That's a lad from Barely Informed.
Who is that?
A lad from Barely
Oh,
Informed
yeah.
with a
They're
lad.
making, what's the case now? That
Was
they're
he talking
saying
to
that they
Zach
have to
Voorhees?
shut
Who was he
down
talking to?
I think they were saying that he didn't protect the
Right. I don't know. I know
I
that
think
there's
the
a
main
lot of people
speaker
in
is
government
over
right
here,
now on
Jason.
both sides of the aisle that are pretty pissed off about them. So I've definitely.
So I think that's Gavin.
Oh yeah, with the Robin Hood hat.
Robin Hood is based here in New York. She has jurisdiction. The Attorney General of New York should investigate these crooks. She should seize their records. She should seize their text messages, their phone calls, whatever it is. Do a thorough investigation. Upend their offices wherever the hell they are.
Those
Maybe-
offices are in New York. They're like on 59th.
Beautiful, 59th Street. All right, so Tish James is go to 59th Street. Hold on. It's a long walk, guys. That's a schlep.
It's cold.
Is that
It's
Curtis
cold and that's a
Lee
schlep. But anyway, she has to go into those offices
Yeah, it is.
and see what the hell happened. She
the
will
red
become
hat,
a
Curtis Lee
national
one?
hero. And I
this guy's name?
guarantee you,
This guy speaking?
if she
Yeah.
did that,
Gavin
she will get
Wax.
praise from Republicans and Democrats alike because we're looking, where's the aspiring attorney general? Where are these prosecutors? You're looking at a red
Mister.
meat issue right here. This is an issue everyone wants to get
you
behind.
see?
I have Antifa guys here just being like whispering like, yeah, I'm cool with this. This is good. This is good. If you could get both sides of this divided country behind an issue, what the hell are you doing? This is red meat. This is just waiting for you to run with it. So I hope the Attorney General gets involved. I hope they expose this corruption because it's utter nonsense what's going on. Utter nonsense.
And what are we gonna do if these
You're a
leaders?
better reporter than them.
If these leaders don't do what they're supposed to do, what are we gonna do?
You cannot be silent and don't become a doomer, all right? There's change. Yes, change always happens. There's been worse times in history, so don't get all doomy, don't give up, don't be pathetic, don't complain, don't kvetch, just go out and do things like this. This is a Sunday morning. I'm sure you guys could be having mimosas or something somewhere, maybe some of you. But just continue to put the pressure on. Hold the line. There's tons of we have so much in front of us with social media, with the apps you can still buy, stocks on. There's plenty we could do. We cost them $70 billion in a matter of weeks. So there's plenty that could be done. So don't give up the fight. All right, guys, you want to say anything? No? All right. Thank you all for coming. We'll be here schmoozing, doing one thing. Oh, all right. Curtis Lee wants to say something.
Man, here we go.
One
Man.
last thing,
Tell.
just as a memory muscle, and you've done a great job. You've really done a
thank
great
you. I
job
appreciate
putting
it.
this all
Thank you.
together. What did they say in 2008? Remember about the whales on Wall Street? They're too big to fail.
That's right.
Remember that? They were too big to fail. So we, the average people, had to bail them out. Now that the hedge fund monsters have been caught, in this situation where they don't want a level playing field. They shut down all trading. They shut down all social networks. They say that the people who invested their money, oh, it was all stimulus money, while they were sitting at home eating their Lay's potato chips and Oreos, growing barnacles.
Cooperman.
Right, growing barnacles on their backside. Well, guess what? They're being protected because it's thought they're too big to fail. Guess what? They need to fail. There needs to be fiscal pain compliance, because that is the only language that they understand. You lose your money like we lost our tax dollars in 2008, like investors, because you're short the stock, like Goldman Sachs sells you a portfolio, then comes back, shorts the stock, and runs away with all the moolah shmoolah. A double UFA to all of you. Thank you.
Of course. Give him a round of applause. He's running for but yeah, it's nonsense. We have Vishborough wants to say a few words.
I just want to say a few words. The elites in this country have ruined our freedoms, and we need to stand. We need to stand together as Americans. Not a left or right issue, it's an us versus them issue. We will stand against managed decline. They know that they can make money whether America goes up or down, and so now they want America to go down and cash out of everything that this place is worth, and we are not going to let them do it anymore. We are taking a stand now, and we will keep fighting until our freedoms are realized and we are given what we were promised, and that's the American dream.
Amen.
Occupy Wall Street.
And I would love to see them bail out the small pizzerias, the restaurants, the bars. No one cares about them. These guys are committing suicide. They've lost everything. They've lost their homes. They've lost the ability to support their families. All right, you're the hedge fund guy. You lost some money. All right, sell your second home on the South Fork. Sell your Hamptons place. Stop going on your vacations. You guys have enough to fall back on. What about the little guy? We've seen the biggest rise in poverty and unemployment and business closures in a century. And we're supposed to shed tears for these guys because they lost a bet? Give me a break. They lost their bet. They're idiots. They should have done better. That's what they tell us. When the little guy gets screwed, oh, too bad, try harder, pull it up by the bootstraps in their rigged game, in their rigged system. They have all these financial instruments, these financial securities that allow them to make money the way no one else can make money, in such a rapid pace that no one else can compete. Robinhood was supposed to be the good thing. Robinhood was supposed to allow the regular people to play the same game these big boys are playing. But instead, we were all taken for schmucks, and they screwed us. They prevented us from making an honest buck, and now they're laughing at us. But they're not going to be laughing forever, because what the Wall Street Bets guys showed is that you could really have collective action to take a sledgehammer to these guys, and I hope it continues. So again, thank you. I think we're done with our lineup of speakers, but we're going to be hanging out.
Gavin, who's in charge of Wall Street Bets?
It's an anonymous bunch of moderators. I mean, they have the little emoji. I think we have someone here who's supposed to be dressed up as them, but I don't know where he is. But you'll find him. He has like a blonde. He has a blonde wig on. But look, you have you have people named like Kitty Cat Killer taking on Leon Cooperman. You have these guys with these ridiculous screen names making these guys look like fools. It's hilarious. I mean, this is like comedy genius. They took GameStop. Who would have thought? If I told you 5 years ago GameStop would have brought down Wall Street, you all would have laughed at me. We are living in the best timeline, people. It's only going to get better, hopefully. So thank you all for coming out. Any questions, though, before we end? All right, cool. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Let's go talk to Curtis Lee.
If our leaders don't do their jobs, we'll do their jobs. I would drag these people out of their offices, bouncing their head off the street until they'll figure it out.
Hell yes, get them. And we'll do interviews over here. We'll do interviews right here.
Sorry.
Just line up and we'll answer whatever. Yes. Whoever's first.
Curtis, can I speak to you just for a second? Sure. You're running for mayor, aren't you?
Yes.
Now, so you've been a staple in New York City forever, right? I mean, when did the Guardian Angels start?
1979, so February 13th will be our 42nd anniversary.
Now, you remember very clearly when the Weather Underground was doing their business in New York City, blowing up buildings, threatening Wall Street, threatening the cops. Bernadine Dorn gave a audio-recorded manifesto on cassette to a radio station that said, guard your banks, guard your airplanes, guard your schools. How do we know that this anonymous movement with Wall Street Bets isn't some disruptive Weather Underground style attack on the whole system in general?
Well, I remember. See, I'm 66. I remember the SDS and some of their members verging off into the Weather Underground. I remember the townhouse that blew up from its foundations as they were manufacturing bombs, and Dustin Hoffman was looking over from his townhouse wondering, what the hell went on?
11th Street or something.
Right, but I would not equate that to what's going on in Wall Street. It's all about greed. This is all about greed. This is no difference than what I deal with, organized crime. The bananas, when they would pump and dump penny stocks, and everybody on Wall Street had blinders on to that because they were making money off of it. Even though they knew it was organized crime that was robbing investors. I mean, they knew there were degenerate gamblers out there who would bet the horses and would bet penny stocks. And they sold them a too good to be true scenario. So the bananas could do it with the permission of Wall Street. Then you know it's all about the scatterall, the moolish moolah.
But don't you think when Bill Ayers and Barack Obama get together, and Obama represents the new generation and technology, he's the first president to use Twitter, he really was the cyber warfare president, and we see so many different indications that cyber warfare is being waged against Americans. This QAnon thing that now is so closely associated with the events of January 6th. I mean, I don't mean to belabor the point, but I see this Wall Street Bets as the QAnon equivalent, the financial QAnon phenomenon where everybody gets involved not knowing who's behind it, and we're rooting for it, we're rooting against it, but we don't really know what the objective is.
I'm a little more of a student of history on that. Goes back to the robber barons when they controlled the steel industry, the coal industry, the railroads, and they were monopolies. Like at that time, you go back to Rockefeller, when it was actually Henry Ford who took Rockefeller to court because he had a complete monopoly. So the point is, history is just repeating itself. So what you need is a trust buster like Teddy Roosevelt, who comes in and busts up the monopolies. Facebook, Twitter,
Google,
YouTube. Go right on down the line. It's just recycled all back again.
And how is the campaign going for mayor?
Oh, it's all fought out in the streets because that's where this is going to have to be fought out. Democrats, they have everybody from the Yang Gang to everybody else. That's fine. It's a good democratic process. Republicans, we have some of our own. So let the battle begin.
You don't plan to offer everybody in New York a universal basic income to run around tearing up buildings and destroying the place?
I don't have two nickels to rub together. I throw them around like manhole covers. My campaign is we're going to have to do more with less. I survived the 70s of Ed Koch, who, by the way, was my nemesis, had me arrested over 70 times because he hated the Guardian Angels. But one thing he did when we were under fiscal restraint is he was a cheerleader out there, cheering people on who were suffering. And sometimes that's what you need, so you know there'll be a better day later on. But I've lived through fiscal restraint, so all these ideas will give money away, and printing press like the federal government, raise the debt ceiling, raise the deficit. I say, ma quanto mai, and who's going to pay for this? Our children and our grandchildren. But nobody seems to care. The Democrats and Republicans says, free money, free money, free money. Right. Somebody's got to pay for it, and it's normally the middle class. Normally the middle class that can't figure out any tricks. They can't cook their books when it comes to the IRS.
Why would you say, I'm 65, I've lived here most of my life, would you say, as I believe, that de Blasio is by far and away the worst mayor that we've ever seen? Or would you
That's saying a lot.
Yeah,
I lived through Lindsay, he was Shanda, Dinkins, double Shanda. De Blasio's right up there. But then again, remember, who mentored de Blasio? Dinkins.
Oh boy.
So the student is like the teacher. But Lindsay, oh my God. Was he a disgrazia, as we would say.
Yeah, he was.
So I know when everybody says, oh, the worst, I said, we've had quite a few worse mayors.
But
and he's one of them.
Yeah, but to schedule a State of the City address and not even show up, I mean, that's like...
Yeah, well, look, I'd rather not look. I got to look at him every day at 12 o'clock, with his updates that are so depressing.
Right.
I'd rather not see the guy any longer.
So can you promise us that if you're elected mayor, you won't give your wife or girlfriend $800 million and just say, you don't have to tell me what you're going to do with it? Or...
Oh, you mean Thrive, the $1.25 billion they can't answer for.
Right.
No. It's not going to be like that.
Okay.
I live 320 square feet apartment with my wife and 13 rescue cats.
Nice.
one of the advantages of being mayor is I'll have a little more space at Gracie Mansion to bring in more cats from the shelters to make sure they don't get executed. That's the other thing. No dog, no cat will be educated in any of the New York City shelters any longer. You talk about a horror. You talk about a death camp. 72 hours, and then there's no reprieve from Andrew Evil Eyes Cuomo. They're dead, weren't they? And that's going to stop.
Good.
Well, how can people learn more about the mayoral campaign?
Of Curtis Lewa? Well, you got to listen to me on WABC radio every day from 12 to 3, and then obviously all you got to do is the one thing they haven't put you in yet. Facebook jail, Twitter jail, right? They haven't put you in Google jail. You can Google me and see everything that I've done, especially the things politically, to lead up to this mayoral run.
Curtis Lewa for mayor, 1,050% New York. Who else can so adeptly move between Italian and Yiddish but Curtis?
And survived lead poisoning.
Exactly.
Them getting shot by the mob. The Gottis and Gambinos took a licking and came back ticking.
Congratulations and good luck to you on your run for mayor, Curtis. Thanks for everything you're doing.
Thanks
Take
for
care
your
of yourself.
time.
There we go. Curtis Lewa, awesome.
Occupy Wall Street was formed out of the Obama.
Well, so Charles,
You wanna
we've just heard it
try
right there. They don't really know who's in charge
Huh?
they don't really know who is running Wall Street Bets.
Yeah.
Another anonymous movement.
This is I don't know if you went to any Tea Party gatherings, but I did in 2010. There was one in right around July of 2010 out in Greenwich. It was just like this. People showed up. There wasn't as much press, but they showed up spontaneously. They gathered. They gave different viewpoints, and it sort of what I imagine the American Revolution must have started out like. The concerned citizens get together, express views, listen to views, debate. So far, no violence.
Hopefully that'll stay that way.
Yeah.
Now, what is XRP?
I think that's a ticker sign.
So he's promoting stocks.
Yes. Hi. What's your name?
My name is Yaakov Strasser.
There's a lot of fair amount. Oh, look, there's a lot of signs over there too.
I was commenting a bunch of American truth. I don't know at all. There's like
It's almost
As cold as a banker's heart.
yeah. And then we have
She's got a gas mask on.
That's intense. No COVID will get to there.
Look, there's a
Friendly.
guy dressed up as a pig.
Oh yeah. Interviewing people. He's got a microphone. That was nice of Curtis Lewa to give you that much time.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
he's pretty. People who don't know around the world, Curtis set up something called Guardian Angels when the city crime situation in the 70s was out of control. He was obviously a lot younger, and a bunch of young people began with him patrolling the subways and trying to protect people.
Those guys get so injured, it's crazy.
Right. He was injured many times.
Many times.
Yeah.
I guess there's some more speeches going on. Should we go listen to what they have
Sure.
to say?
It's this lady there.
South Korea just canceled the coal-fired power plant in South Africa. People in South Africa are dying of starvation. They're dying of COVID. They need energy. And the banks are going to dictate no energy, no industry. You can have solar panels and windmills. People like Cuomo, de Blasio, Schumer, who I'm running against, have proposed covering all of Long Island with solar panels, which would not even generate enough electricity to fry an egg. You certainly can't make solar panels from a solar panel economy. As I said, I'm Diane Sarah, a candidate against Chuck Schumer, independent. I am an associate of the late Lyndon LaRouche, who spent 5 years in jail as a result of going up against this establishment. The first policy we need is to reinstate the Glass-Steagall Act.
What about that? That's a good
We
idea.
have to separate the banks. Your savings and loan bank should not be allowed to speculate on Wall Street with your money. You want to know why it costs $1 million to park in New York City? Or $500,000 to cross the bridge? Because we are paying debt service to this giant Wall Street bubble. So it's tremendous that there has been a fight, but look behind the curtain, because I think JP Morgan Chase and BlackRock, people know BlackRock, Larry Fink, BlackRock was given the right to administer $4 trillion of the COVID relief program from the New York Federal Reserve. So we want to make sure that the hedge funds and the banks do not run a dictatorship of this nation. And we've got to get our sovereignty back with Glass-Steagall. We've got to nationalize the Federal Reserve, clean them out, make it transparent. And we need trillions of dollars for high-speed rail, nuclear power. We need millions of productive jobs in this country. Thank you.
We don't need high-speed rail.
Why not?
Absurd.
What if it could go in a tunnel made by Elon Musk at 500 miles an hour and replace an airplane?
Well, it's a big if. You got to get underneath the buildings and the houses. In the Northeast, our friend from the railroad industry can explain to you in great detail that it's just the cost of doing it is so prohibitive. And when you contrast having your own car or mode of transport with having to go and adapt to somebody else's schedule on a train, Americans aren't going to do that. That's not, unless you're forced to do it or become slaves.
I think if they make the self-driving car fully work, all that stuff goes out the window because you can just go to sleep in your car and wake up wherever you want to be.
Right. Exactly.
Well, it's actually not as many people here as I thought there would be.
Right. What we could do, Jason, to make it interesting, if you want, we could walk around the former World Trade Center site.
Sure, yeah. It looks like some more of the Guardian Angels have arrived there with Curtis. Is there anybody else here you think we should speak with, Charles? I don't know. Tara, anybody you see?
That's my friend Steven from Ponce's Point over there. Can you go and say hi?
Sure.
Steven.
Want to talk to him? Sure.
Yeah.
I think I've seen you on there, right?
I've seen you. Hey, what's up,
Oh yeah, you guys have done shows together. How are you?
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Charles. Sorry.
Nice to meet you.
So you guys have done shows together, right?
Definitely we have.
Sorry, let me get the level turned up. That woman was on a bullhorn.
Is this James?
Jason.
Jason.
Yes.
Yeah, she told me about you. Nice to meet you, Jason.
Nice to meet you. So what do you think about the whole Wall Street bets situation?
I think we could have done this a long time ago. I think the general public had the same power that they had now to move a stock in the direction they wanted to against what these hedge funds and firms originally wanted the stock to sway. So I think it's unprecedented, but I think it's also setting an example for us to do it again. If people in mass congregate and come together and they say, well, let's jump on AMC, let's jump on Nokia or GameStop, again, onto other stocks, we could definitely do this again.
So just as somebody who comes out of that world, I'd say you'd want to say it differently. If your objective is to buy stock based on a rationale that you think it's be worth more, you should just say, I think this is undervalued and I'm buying it. The second you cross into territory and say, let's together jump on GameStop, you're breaking the law. And you don't want to do that.
Well, it's hard to prove if the general public is getting together and doing it because let's say a company comes out with a product and a lot of people tend to like the product, right? And then people start to invest and buy stocks in said company. Is that illegal because a mass amount of people are just buying into it, colluding? I'm just
saying the let's jump in. The second you write those words down on the internet and you exchange it in a message, you created evidence and incriminating yourself. That's my point. You don't want to do that on a message board. You want to make up your own
legal advice.
Just based on a long career on Wall Street. You don't want to do that, and that's the error. Just because the short guys are doing it and they're breaking the law, you should not also break the law. You should instead just say, I think GameStop is undervalued. Put something up on Twitter that says that, or whatever you use. But using it through a message board is very, very dangerous.
Well, it's hard to prove, though. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. It's hard to prove, though. So let's say, you have several firms colluding, which is the word that you have to say, colluding to work together to move the market the direction they want it. So they sit on a lot of capital. They sit on a lot of cash in order to do so. the general public usually doesn't have that much cash to sit on. So you need more people, more numbers to do so. It's going to be harder to prove. Although I guess it is, you can argue it is illegal. It's harder to prove the intent was there. It's easy to prove if firms do it, but it's harder to prove if the general public does it.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, just when I started on Wall Street, it was a long time ago. Every deal I did, buying and selling a company as an advisor, the SEC would investigate. And they had, I was in a database of what college did I go to, what business school, who were my roommates, where did I live, etc. And that's way pre-internet. So they have that now. Your Facebook account, they know everything they need to know about you, and you have to execute the trade somehow. So you're going to execute that online. They have a record of when you did that. They can tie it to the message you sent. And if they want retroactively to make an example of you, they can do it. That's what I'm saying. I'm somebody who believes for your benefit, for my benefit, securities should be fairly priced and valued and traded, right? Because that's one portion of your retirement, should you ever be fortunate to have a retirement, will be a pile of securities. You don't want the market for that to be, influenced either by Robinhood or by the short guys. You want it to be real price discovery. And that's what I personally am fighting for.
Well, someone who came from Wall Street, were you guys ever, before this happening, ever had talks like, what if the general public did this? Was this ever a fear before this happened, even back in the day?
So I worked for a firm called Dillon Reed, which actually was right over there, and it was a powerful firm in the day. Not before I got there, less powerful when I got there. And the first day I showed up, they said, listen, the top guys said, look, here's the runway that you're going to work on. You do not come to the side of the runway. You don't peer over here into illegal territory. You stay right in the middle of this runway your entire career. If we see you hedging over there, you're fired. You're fired with prejudice. So, I mean, this is before Glass-Steagall. This is when Glass-Steagall operated, and when I became a partner, my own capital was in the business, and all my securities had to be in an account in the place. If the firm went down, I was in deep trouble. So it was a very different conservative firm.
Right. Well, I'm sure a lot of people are interested. So, for example, Melvin Financial, they're one of the big ones that went into bankruptcy, right? So, Melvin Financial is what? It's an LLC. If they file for bankruptcy because, margin calls come in, they owe money to the clearinghouses, technically, because they have to pay off these losses.
Right.
When Melvin Financial goes into bankruptcy, is there anyone that's individually liable? Because when it's an LLC, it runs off the company's social security, the EIN. So it doesn't really affect anybody per se, right? It's just more like, it's just more when it comes to reputation.
Sorry, distracted by the pig. Most funds, Melvin may be the general partner, the entity that's the general partner of the fund, they have limited partners. So when you're the managing partner or the general partner of a fund like Melvin Capital, you have unlimited liability, particularly if it can be shown. I mean, you try to paper it over, but at the end of the day, when your investors come to you and say, you lost 80% of you, Melvin, lost 80% of my money, and I'm pissed off, especially if your investors are the large state pension funds, which are very, very big, they have unlimited resources to go after the GP. So I don't think these guys will escape scot-free, and I think actually the people we ought to go after are not so much the funds, though I have ties to people in funds. It's the Federal Reserve, it's the central bank, it's the people who want to borrow trillions of dollars that we don't have, that you guys are going to have to pay off in 40 years. I mean, those are the people we need to go after, who suppressed interest rates, driven up asset values, and put us in a place where the dollar can be destroyed. And those are the people who really need focus, and that's, the Wall Street stuff is small money. Government debt volumes are gigantic. I mean, we're talking 26, 28 trillion dollars on federal government debt or federal and state government debt. Then you're talking for the nation as a whole. When I was a kid, you didn't borrow. You couldn't use credit cards. And the risk preferences have shifted. So now people have gigantic student loans, businesses borrow too much, banks borrow too much, governments borrow too much. That's what we should be focusing on.
Do you anticipate these firms getting bailed out by government? Because historically they've been.
Not hedge funds. Hedge funds have not really.
But the banking industry, the finance industry has.
It should be.
Right, that's the argument people make. So do you anticipate...
That might be our cue to go.
Yeah. Anyway,
Thank you for talking.
Nice to meet you.
Give me some insight.
All right.
I know you run a social media channel. Also, where can the viewers find you?
Oh yeah, you guys can find me on Ponce's Point. It's PONCES Point. Ponce's Point.
Sorry, hang on one second.
Oh yeah.
Just that again.
Yeah, you guys can find me on Ponce's Point on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. Ponce's Point is where you guys can find me. Thank you. Yeah, well, I was gonna ask you, do you think the government's gonna step in at all? I mean,
the government is certainly going to step in with some sort of heavy hand here, but it's tough because Janet Yellen was paid by Fidel Castro $10,000 in fees. So she's conflicted. I don't know how easy it is to rescue a hedge fund.
Especially when it's their own fault that they have bad
Right.
money, right? It's not like it's a blanket issue that affected a whole industry.
Right.
I agree. That was my thought process too.
This guy's crazy.
Yeah, let's get away from this noise here.
Nice to meet you.
Talking to you.
Sorry.
Thanks.
Nice to meet you.
I hope you're all next to these guys are
Let's go west. Sorry.
Sure.
I recognize a few faces around here. Yeah.
Somebody's always got to show up with a loud boom box.
Yeah.
Monetize the stream. Well, here, wait. Let's get a look at this from over here. Wow, there's a guy wearing shorts. He's crazy.
But must be from Alaska.
I don't understand how you could even do that for
And no hat.
for a short period of time. It's so cold right now.
Watch is the same guy probably from the other day.
I just don't understand how he's able to do it. Maybe he knows the naked cowboy. Well, yeah, let's
Naked
go
short selling.
Let's go for a look. Naked short seller, right?
Well, we'll give the people a brief view of the former World Trade Center site.
So now, Charles, what is the difference between naked short selling and regular short selling?
So if you sell stock that you have not borrowed from somebody, you've managed to do what the Federal Reserve does when they create dollars, right? The only way in which, in theory, you can short stock is by, if I don't have it, I think GE's overvalued, you have 100 shares of GE, through my broker, I borrow your stock. Mm-hmm. And the way the system, I believe, works is, I'm not sure you get the interest, I think the brokerage firm gets the interest. And now I have an obligation, I borrowed the stock, so I have an obligation to give it back to you at some point. If the value of the stock I've borrowed has gone up, I've lost money. So the broker comes to me and says, give us more collateral. And if I don't have collateral, they sell the stock, sell my assets to cover the loan. If you are able, if I can get 100 shares of GE without borrowing it from you or anybody else, that's a naked short selling. I'm selling stuff I don't own.
So you're sort of just making it up.
You're making it up, and you're not supposed to be able to do that.
Are the cops going to go crack skulls, or what are they doing? Something good on YouTube. They're going to
donut time.
They're standing by.
That's just amazing the way that guy came in there with a loud microphone and a crazy hat.
Yeah, I recognize some of the people there from January 10th.
But who's the guy with the crazy outfit? Is he
the dreadlocks and?
I'm not sure about the guy in the dreadlocks, but I definitely recognize the guy in the pig hat.
Who is he?
He's one of them that was chasing me on January 10th.
Really?
Yeah.
He's an Antifa guy?
He's Antifa BLM. I see he's probably one of their reporters because he interviews, but in a very harassing way.
Well, he's wearing a pig outfit.
Yeah.
He's anti-cop, right?
Yeah, he's anti-cop. He was harassing the police that day. He was shoving the microphone in my face and way too close for comfort, as everyone else was that day.
Do you want to go beat him up?
Kinda, but
I'd like to watch that.
You're like, now that my hands are free and I'm not holding my gear, let's make it fair, right? Just kidding.
See, the reason why I keep coming back to this really feeling like a social engineering operation and not some virtuous Robin Hood style, not the trading company, but the stealing from the rich and giving to the poor. It just feels very contrived to me. And I do really believe that the Weather Underground has become much more technologically sophisticated than they were. I think that Antifa, that pig mask, that comes from that whole movement. The, Black Panthers and the Weather Underground were pigs in a blanket, listen to them fry kind of thing, or whatever that mantra was that they had. That's where that mask comes from. And, Bill Ayers was very involved in Occupy Wall Street. Obama, very involved with this Clear Force. Jim Jones created that. Oh.
You might get cut off here because of that.
It's saying I have less than 750 gigabytes of data. I don't know what that was saying. I'm supposed to have, this is some new plan that's supposed to have tons of gigs of data on there. Well, all right, if there's any disruption to the broadcast, there will be a director's cut later today on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. I hope we're still rolling.
There's a go into Amazon Go.
Yeah, there's a lot of those showing up now. And then what is this with the very Nazi-looking symbol on the C-21 thing?
Century 21?
Oh yeah, right. I never noticed they had those birds up there.
Since 1846?
I just think that
it's a
there's
River
another
Savings-
shoe to drop on this thing.
It's East River Savings Bank.
Yeah, they were probably paying the Nazis, and then Century 21 just took it over.
Well, 1846.
Yeah, but
Pre-Nazi.
100 years later, they were probably getting down with George Bush's dad and the Nazis. But I feel, Charles, like there's another shoe to drop on this Wall Street bets thing that hasn't hit yet. I don't know.
Well, I mean, we're in the middle of earnings season now. We haven't gotten the details. This is an important earnings season where they talk about the fourth quarter, the final quarter, and the full year of last year. Some companies will project what they think they're going to do in 2021. In my mind, only a fool would try to do that. We have no idea what's going to happen with legislation.
Particularly now, yeah.
Yeah, domestic economy, international economy, geopolitics. But we have, as we were talking before we got to the Noise Festival over there, we were talking about the evil garden gnome Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum and his plans for a great reset to decimate the business as we know it today, and to encourage a slower rate of population growth and even decline in population.
Sounds very Thanos.
Very?
Very Thanos from Marvel.
Snap his fingers and everything will be decimated.
Right.
So now let's just stop here for a second because there's some artwork on that thing that is more complete than the last time I was here.
Yeah.
And also, this is quite a view of this.
Now, what is that thing?
That's the train station in there, but it's like a bird skeleton or something.
But it looks to me like the kind of house Klaus Schwab would live in with that weird outfit that he wears.
Yeah. You could join the galactic whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably the secret tunnel that gets you out to the Mars place where the Intergalactic Conference has been working for 3 or 4 years with Chuck Schumer.
Well, it's actually just the train station in there.
So you say.
And I think there's a mall as well.
Yeah, you haven't been clued in. I mean, you don't
Should
have.
we walk? I mean, I don't think we can go in
We
there.
can't go in there.
mask, but we can walk around that area over there.
Sure.
And then, so what other nonsense has President Dumb Joe going to do this week, John?
Well, we'll talk about that in a second, but I just wanted to remind you, did you see Bill Gates' thing?
I don't know if I saw it. What did he do?
He gave a remark somewhere. He said, well, he's very disappointed and shocked that people are accusing him and Dr. Fauci of conspiring together, and that they don't understand the great work that he's doing with the Gates Foundation. Only a conspiracy theorist could believe that what he's doing is evil.
Did he say that?
More or less.
Wow.
Not exactly those words, but.
What do you think about Bill Gates, Tara?
So anybody who's against what he says or doesn't like the guy, they're just going to be a conspiracy theorist, in other words.
That's the way they're going to cancel everybody. It's like, if you disagree with orthodoxy, whatever it may be, on any subject, you're a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, that's what Vice was saying about me. I mean, meanwhile, they're the ones who are spewing false statements. and supporting Robert David Steele, Manuel Chavez, Thomas Schoenberger, and a litany of other dopes.
Well, and really, probably happened before this, but Hillary Clinton, that's how she stiff-armed the Monica Lewinsky stuff in the very beginning.
Said she was a conspiracy theorist?
No, she said, she went on with, I think the Today Show, was it? And said, my husband and I, my husband's enemies are a vast right-wing conspiracy that's been after me and my husband for years.
But how is that not a conspiracy theory to say that?
It's the definition of a conspiracy theory.
She's got a theory that there's a vast right-wing conspiracy.
If it's the right side, it's a conspiracy theory.
And this is the kind of stuff, I mean, you look at this is the kind of stuff, everybody loves their children, that my children would, not this big obviously, and this extensive, but the kind of stuff, you leave kids alone with spray paint and toys and tin cans,
and
this is what you get,
Well, there's a lot of eyeball symbology on this thing.
All-seeing eyes.
Yeah.
And this is a remarkable, if you look at it, you contrast this stuff with the old stuff over there. And I think, Jason, this is actually, when you and I first met, this is where I parted company with you at the end of the broadcast. You guys took the subway?
Yeah, there was
and I walked home.
I think this was under a scaffolding or something.
But it was just right there. You left right there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's correct. Oh, look, origami painted on the thing. Now, this Millennium Hilton, this is like a giant obelisk.
Yeah.
I love obelisks.
Yes, we do.
So this thing's okay. Yeah, let's head down this way and just, it's probably going to be freezing down by the water.
What is that wind tunnel there?
Is this like a container
Yeah, it could well be, yeah.
Because we have a lot of these in Asia, actually. Like a container, they have container
Shipping
buildings.
Container building,
yeah. And they put restaurants and clubs inside of them.
Yeah.
They have that in Austin, Texas, where that FBI agent allegedly committed suicide while wearing a bulletproof vest.
On the dance floor?
Yeah. Because,
Yeah, this is, what's that Oculus? Is that this thing?
That's this.
Yeah, okay.
This thing. But I guess that's why they have eyeballs all over this, because it's an Oculus, but yeah, Oculus is this, mall or whatever.
Yeah, the inside of the flowers are all eyeballs.
Creepy.
Right? Now, wind tunnel? What wind tunnel?
Well, that thing straight ahead of us, what is that?
That's the World Financial Center. That's the atrium, isn't it?
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
We don't want to go that far, I don't think.
Well, I mean, again, we're going to have to put on a mask to go in there. I mean, it's already getting much colder just as we approach the water.
I think the next avenue we could go north on. We want to.
It's freezing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to go outside and now sit outside for 2 hours and have some horrible food?
Well, I mean,
that
the
will
food
charge
might be good, but it's just too cold, and yeah, I mean, it's just not enjoyable to go out and sit in the freezing cold.
Yeah, that's. Have you been in there?
I haven't been in there. I've been by it many times.
I was walking when I started going after GE. I was very suspicious of what GE might throw against me, and I was walking one day in the afternoon. I was walking near my apartment, and this young lady walks up to me and says, "Were you in New York City on September 11th, 2001? And I thought, do I answer that question? And it was a benign thing. She wanted me to, they wanted to ask me questions for a video of what I thought about 9/11 and what it felt like to be there or whatever. And so they gave me a tour of this before it was open to the general public, and then filmed my reaction. And I nearly canceled. I went in the first few minutes, first few steps, and it's really quite dramatic. I mean, if you have any people you've lost, or you have poignant memories of the actual day, I mean, it's a really moving, and I would, on balance, recommend it as something to do. It's not going to be a trivial exercise for you. It'll be really, in some ways, wrenching, but in many ways wrenching. But it's well worth doing.
I haven't done it yet either to go inside.
And then after that, you can get a root canal.
No, wait a minute. You're not even allowed into this thing, even though it's outdoors.
Oh, yeah.
without a mask.
All right, so we'll,
CDC approved masks. Oh,
yeah.
I haven't seen that before.
I saw this over in when I went to the Rockefeller Center for the Tree. To go inside of the area on this, which was outdoors, you had to wear a mask to go in.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Because obviously the COVID over here is not going to like float over there.
Yeah.
You know.
This fence is as effective at keeping out the COVID
And they had a
as
sign that was
mask
like
would be.
in front of the tree saying 6 feet social distancing. So it's like when you have your photo with the tree, the sign's right there.
And you can't stand next to your family. You got to be 6 feet away.
Well, was that a tree or was that a Festivus bush?
An entertainment shrub.
Oh, an entertainment shrub, is that what it is?
So
So this is like, you know, the final exam for an architecture grad school, right? Here you have, I don't know which one people would say is the nicest one. I think this is kind of pretty interesting, actually. And over there, that's, you had to give somebody, you know, this is a participation trophy. That person, you know, shouldn't have graduated from 6th grade, but
Look
give
at
her a
this little
trophy.
puppy.
That's a cute puppy.
Golden retriever, right?
Or in certain cultures, dinner.
Oh. So, all right, well, where should we go now?
I think we should head north, young man.
Yes, let's do it.
And
I don't know.
That's true. In today's society, we're getting a lot of participation trophies.
exactly.
Yeah. I don't know what I really expected to see at that Reoccupy Wall Street.
More people, actually.
I thought there would be more people, yeah.
For people who work on Wall Street and are fascinated with it, have difficulty understanding that very few people have any interest in Wall Street.
Well, I think people are interested in money and making money, and they're interested when they hear about crimes happening and people stealing money. Those are some really heavy-duty looking vehicles right there, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing. I mean, one of those from New Jersey. And technically, are we on in traffic here? Maybe we should go there. Don't want to have to explain that Tara got run over by a cement truck.
Well, so Tara, what's on your mind for this coming week? Any news that you're going to be following?
I mean, for me, my schedule's been pretty like day to day to figure out what's going on. It's fortunate is like my father works for, or is retired from United Airlines, so that's what's given me a good ability to teleport across the country whenever I need to be.
That's great.
And
That's
so,
great. Was he a captain?
He was a mechanic.
A mechanic, great. That's very important.
And so I may be heading out of New York. I was going to go to DC this weekend to go check out who's this White Accomplice Training 101.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that.
What is that?
I saw a flyer on an Antifa website about White Accomplice Training 101. I'm like, what is this? And so I'm a very curious person. So I'm like, let me go to DC and go and see what is this. But I decided to stay in town for the Reoccupy Wall Street protest.
Good. Thank you for doing that.
But I have been living out of a suitcase for the last month. So if nothing else is going on, I may just be a normal person and go see my family.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I haven't seen my parents in like a year.
Yeah.
It's definitely the longest time in my entire
a whole
life.
year. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, you know, haven't gotten on a plane. I do think, Charles, the last time I was on a plane was our trip to Norway.
That's a year ago.
Yeah. Oh, this is nice and warm.
Is it? We'll stay here for a while.
Ooh, it's like blowing steam up our skirts here.
A little reprieve.
We're probably totally getting like chemicals sprayed on us or something.
There's more of it.
Maybe from the
That's
Metro
the
Rail.
post office.
Yeah, it's the post office blasting, air conditioning, heat. Oh, wow. Isn't it a federal crime to graffiti a post office truck?
Yeah.
I think so.
Destroying federal property? This person wants an ICBM.
I'm sure it was well worth it to that person to potentially have a federal crime on them to do their artwork.
Well, I mean, it's just another example that the streets are not under the control of those that are here to enforce the law.
So we're on West Broadway, which is a north-south street that I have not been on in quite a while, but
Yeah.
I think we'll see some interesting closed restaurants and closed businesses up ahead, but some interesting architecture.
More ghost town.
Yeah.
I guess I need to go get another chip. This was supposed to have 15 gigs on it. I gotta call AT&T when I get back to the apartment.
You could have each of your subscribers call AT&T and say, "What's up with this?"
No, don't do that. It'll just make me wait on hold longer.
These guys
Here,
were
you can see
smoking
the
dope.
Empire State Building all the way up there.
The guys who walked past us were smoking dope.
Oh, well, that's nothing new.
In Times Square, when you walk past that area, like every 2 seconds somebody's offering you to try to sell it to you.
Really?
Wow, that hasn't happened to me. Are they working for Weed World?
Oh, I saw that retail store open up.
There's a few now, and they have a lot of trucks. Yeah, and I mean, I'm telling you, there's no shortage of dog
fertilizer.
Fertilizer, right.
Yeah. Honestly, back on Curtis Sliwa, why would you want to have to try to fix the city after de Blasio crushes it? I mean,
Well, I hope he can win. I mean, he's definitely in a better position to take that job than a lot of people. He's well known. He's got the radio show.
yeah.
He's got relationships with city government and law enforcement and stuff like that. I think he could make a difference. Oh wait, oh my God, what is going on here? Does Flash Dancers have? I guess you can get lap dances in outdoor huts.
What?
Oh my God!
Well, that's a strip club right there.
Yeah.
a strip hut.
Yeah.
Let's
yeah.
give people a
COVID,
close-up view.
COVID will not.
Let's give people a close-up view of that.
That might be the VIP area.
That's hilarious.
Well, maybe it's
This
the
is-
restaurant next door.
This is slippery here, guys.
Yep.
The Downtown Gentlemen's Club. I think not. It says open daily.
How could it be open? You're telling me a
2
strip
p.m.
club
to
is
10.
allowed to be open? Yeah,
Oh,
no,
this is Monk McGinn's.
Yeah.
That's different. It's open, and then this does not look. Well, it's 2 p.m. It's not yet 2 p.m. I guess, so looks pretty closed.
How
The
could they have
padlock
it?
is kind of a clue that it's closed.
But they got you can get a propane, you gotta get a stripper lap dance with a propane heater. That's gonna burn up the COVID. That's pretty funny. That's our first visit to a strip club on Sunday with Charles.
And it says showing all sporting events. I know in California they're opening indoor dining, but they're not allowed to have any TVs.
Yeah, why is that?
I didn't follow that at all, actually.
I
mean, that's
what's the
Looney
logic
Land.
behind that?
I mean, that's just
TVs impact COVID, evidently.
it's a special kind
Right.
of
It's
special
got
kind
to
of
do with
crazy.
Maybe having people stay there longer or something. Yeah,
That
this
could
does
be.
look pretty
Yeah,
slippery.
it is. Just be careful.
They've got the sand under the salt or whatever it is. So we got Verizon everywhere.
A nice Caterpillar, whatever you call that thing. Is it a front loader?
It's a backhoe.
Backhoe?
So, well, I don't know. What I know about construction equipment is extremely limited. Charles, what do we anticipate the SEC or whoever is going to do about all this come Monday? Have they done anything yet?
Well, what we saw already, I did a small bit of trading last week, and I tried to execute a trade on Charles Schwab platform. I got one part of it done, but couldn't do the second part. So there were several days of interruption. And the real challenge is when you have massive imbalances in purchase orders versus available supply, how do you set the price of the security? So that kind of situation in certain securities could cause the trading to be shut down in that security temporarily. And
President Dumb Joe has specifically said via his press secretary that he doesn't want to talk about this.
Yeah, that's
Sort of, come on, man.
Come on, man. I'm busy at my
And then
Listen
it
Fat
comes out
Chinese
that
restaurant.
the press secretary's brother works for, I think, Citadel Capital.
Right, Ken Griffin's firm.
And then she deleted all references to him on LinkedIn, which is obviously the most direct way to deal with questions of integrity. Just delete it.
Well, I mean, how did you like her response to the question? We've got a serious problem with this GameStop. What's the Biden administration going to do about it? And her response was, well, I'm very proud that we have the first female Treasury Secretary in America's history.
It's like, that doesn't answer the question.
Huh?
No more questions.
Never mind.
Maybe she's leafing through her notes and she's like, I'll get back to you later.
I know, she just... Or how about Joe Biden saying, that it's a crime what Trump did with COVID, that 400 million, what did he say, 400,000 people have died, and we got to do things differently from day one on COVID, and then on day whatever when he wakes up, it's like, I can't change the trajectory of this problem. Oh, so you're going to give back your presidency then? Because that was the central premise.
That was the New York City sheriffs.
Well, they just resigned a lot of the executive orders that were already in place under Trump's administration. It's like, let me take credit for these ones.
Yeah.
Maybe he realized that Trump was actually doing a good job.
I don't know that Joe realizes much. I mean, stand up. I am a bit more of a numbers person than most, but to stand up and say, well, I'm pleased to announce there are 400 million doses that have been ordered. I'm going to order another 200. It'll give us 600 million doses, which is enough to vaccinate 300 Americans. I mean, that's one awesome vaccination process. You need 600 million shots per 300. That ought to juice the profits of the pharma industry.
But there's also, we're hearing about a lot of people, like Larry King died.
Well, they'll say it's COVID.
But was it? I mean, what happened with him?
His wife came out saying it wasn't COVID.
Yeah.
What was it?
He had, I'm not exactly sure.
He's like 90.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Yeah. But his wife had come out saying it wasn't,
a strong fart could do it.
that his body was failing him. She said that his body was failing him. But his wife definitely came out saying that it wasn't COVID.
Well, that's good. So we just had two jokers who were giving us the peace symbol, but what they don't realize is the camera was pointing at you guys and not them. I'm stealing some heat from this lamp because my fingers are freezing.
We don't want your fingers to freeze off and fall off.
I am so with you on that, Charles. There's nobody who doesn't want that more than me.
It's interesting how this part of the city hasn't really been renovated, whereas over there,
Look at this. The outdoor hut is now part of the restaurant space for lease.
extra square feet.
Well, you know what? Maybe this was here before. But Citibank has a roof deck over there.
Just what I want. Because you see, this was back when New York was functioning. This was pleasant over here. Nice restaurants, interesting shops, different feel than Wall Street, and you're only 10 minutes away from Wall Street, walking.
Yeah, we got HSBC right next to Citibank.
And in between the skin laundry, you got the cash laundry and the corruption
that's weird,
laundry.
Right? Skin laundry. Laundering skin.
But one thing that has happened, we talk about market developments time to time, is I had a sense of foreboding the second Joe won, or was said to have won, that the markets would start correcting. And I've been warning people for several weeks now, be careful, because the market could well start cratering as people begin to perceive the negative economic impacts of the Biden administration. And their first impulse is canceling the Keystone Pipeline, putting people, and literally there was a story in the press about some inn somewhere, I don't know where, along the pipeline route, where it was absolutely full. He cancels the pipeline. They realize that means it's really canceled. So everybody who had booked rooms there for months in a hotel that somebody had just purchased a number of months ago, they just said, F this, we're gone. So all those rooms were gone.
Because they were working, so they had rented that though?
Yeah, they were migrant, they were engineers who would have to go in the middle of nowhere and stay near the pipeline.
Right.
construction workers. They
So
needed
the
a place.
hotel's out of business.
The hotel's hurt. You know, whether it will go out of business remains to be seen. That was on his first day.
Yeah.
He canceled that, and
He's like, what else can we wreck?
what
you
else
know?
can we screw up?
Didn't Biden say something about how like using executive orders
Right.
Excessively or as a means of implementing something is like a form of a dictatorship?
Right.
Yet on his first day
course.
he had 33 ready to go.
Right. Right.
I heard that Pelosi had purchased some like stock also with like Tesla. Because like one of the executive orders is about
Electric cars for the government.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, that whole, I mean, under Republicans and Democrats alike, they haven't been able to discipline the inside trading impulses of not only the representatives and senators and the executive people, but their staffs. Under a theory that these people are doing God's work, they're working on behalf of America, how could they possibly be expected, you know, to limit their trading activities? And it's just total rubbish. What you do is you create, oh, nice. Lovely. Just clean some of that stuff up and wear a mask, okay?
Yeah.
Oh boy. But you should be able, in fact, I know people who went into government who had, there's more non-mask evidence. I know people who had a lot of money who went into government, and they realized very quickly that what you have to do is you put all of your investable assets into what's called a blind trust. You find it, hey, there we go.
Oh yeah.
Pet toys. Live cat grass available. What is cat grass?
I think it's to put in the house so they can be. AT&T keeps texting me that I have less than 250 megabytes available, so I think they're going to start throttling the network speed once the rest of it gets used up. So I'm not sure how that will impact the broadcast. If it stops it, people can check out a director's cut later today. Oh, you know what I wanted to tell you that's a little bit off topic. So I've been telling people for a while that for the sponsor exclusive shows that are available on Patreon and Subscribestar, I've been working on a crowdsourced the truth video server that will be an alternative to Vimeo, which we're using right now. There was a time a while ago where Mike Moore from True Pundit and myself exposed that dope with the Falcon pajamas, and there was a whole thing going on with the Daily Beast, which is, you know, IAC and Barry Diller and all that. And IAC also owns Vimeo, so they totally dinged the Vimeo account after that. And that deleted a bunch of videos. And so I am right now beta testing the new Crowdsource the Truth video server. It only works with Subscribestar right now. And for the first part of the test, what's happening is some of the legacy videos that were deleted are being restored. So people who are sponsors and are there on Subscribestar may start noticing those coming back up. I hope to have it implemented with Patreon pretty soon. And then live streams will eventually transition over to there. And if the ultimate, you know, badness happens and the YouTube channel gets killed, perhaps everything will migrate over there. But people who are sponsors have made this possible. And now is a great time to jump in and become a sponsor so that I can continue developing that server.
That's good. Well, on the subject of retribution and going after conservatives or going after dissenting opinions, it's really shocking to see the way in which Democrats are embracing the behavior of Nancy Pelosi, and now Bob Bauer is going to be was Barack Obama's top lawyer and White House counsel, married to Anita Dunn. Bob Bauer is going to be in charge of the commission to study whether you should increase the Supreme Court. And his wife has been put in, Anita Dunn, a very controversial lady, has been put in as one of Joe Biden's top advisors, like Jared Kushner was to Donald Trump.
Terrible.
This lady, Anita Dunn, who once said that she idolized the political thinking of Mao Zedong.
Oh boy.
You know,
so she could get down with Pierre Trudeau.
Yeah.
He loved Mao.
Did he?
Well, he shook hands with him in this picture, and he was, I think, the first world leader to visit, maybe even before Nixon, and he's a Fabian socialist, and he just, you know, I think David Hawkins always says he's never met a brutal dictator he didn't love.
Castro.
He was also really friends and even shared his wife with Fidel Castro. There's another Verizon truck over
He's
there.
a generous guy.
I think he wasn't that interested in the wife.
Oh, really?
That's the impression I get. You just look at photos, they do tell 1,000 words.
Yeah, this whole area is radically different than the last time I was here. Seems kind of nice, actually. A
Yeah.
bunch of falling down restaurants and buildings. Tribeca Tavern, eat.
I
We
mean,
are
you know,
open.
they are obviously not doing any Sunday brunch business.
Well, you can have a leaf. Yeah, this is kind of nice over here.
If you like it being 20 degrees.
So one of the things that is beginning to roil the markets, though, getting back on that subject, is that people are starting to understand, getting the clues that are dropped through the confirmation hearings, for example, from the proposed, I think, either chairman of some economic advisor or something like that, that in fact, Biden is going to raise taxes on everybody. He cannot possibly finance what he's trying to say he's going to do only by taxing the rich. There's not enough lemon in that lemon.
Enough juice.
There's not enough juice and meat in the lemon. So you're going to have to go tax everybody more. And when you really start, the difference between the very rich and everyone else is the rich have options. They can always figure a way around new taxes, and they act in anticipation of those new let's wait. Yeah, so I don't want you to get hit. They can act in anticipation of proposed regulations, whereas a salaried person making $40,000 a year, if they say your taxes are going up 10%, there's not much you can do. On top of, the real hidden tax that's not so hidden for people who live outside the city.
Gas prices.
Gas prices, heating prices, all those prices are already rising. And so I think
In Florida, the day after inauguration, it jumped up by 40 cents.
40 cents, is that right?
Yeah, it went from like $1.90 to $2.30.
Right.
Like the day after inauguration.
And so you have, when you start thinking that through, what does that mean? That means there's less buying power for people to spend on goods and services generally, and then across markets and different products, different services, so demand may end up being lower. Profitability of the vendors may go down. If interest rates could, in a real panic, go down and negative, which would be the way they are in Europe, and it's a disaster.
So interest rates negative, that means the bank pays you to borrow money?
Well,
I don't know if that's how it works, but when you deposit money...
Wait a minute, something just happened. I think we might have lost the battery on your... Hold that for 1 second
Yep.
for me. Oh yeah, we lost the battery here. I got an idea.
Do you need more batteries?
No, I got an idea. I got a battery in here. Watch this.
Nothing up my sleeve.
That's actually famous grip words. Watch this. Use a Band-Aid to attach a camera to a truck.
Try doing that in the cold, Jason.
Yeah, it hurt real hard. I do need more batteries. These are both dead.
I have double A's.
That's so good. Thank you. Wow, it's like frozen. So as we've spoken about in the past, batteries have a gel in them that a chemical reaction occurs and electrons flow through the gel from a cathode to an anode, or an anode to a cathode or something. And I guess when that gel gets super cold, the flow don't go.
that's very scientific analysis.
Yeah. Okay, I think you should be back now, Charles.
I'm here. So I think I started to say that the people are trying to figure out or invest how much downward pressure there will be on earnings, what will happen to interest rates. I started to explain that when you have negative interest rates on deposits, you give your cash to the bank, and then you have to pay the bank for the privilege of giving them your cash.
What? Who
I know.
would do that?
People in Europe have been doing this under the great EU plan for several years now.
Oh my God.
You know, you're close to it actually. I'm talking about you have to pay them write them a check or however you pay the money. And that's before you consider that the value, that there's inflation in dollars. And so not only are you having to pay the bank for the privilege to house your money, but goods and services are rising in cost. And so the dollars you get back a year from now are going to be worth less than the dollars are today. So it's to argue that that's
like
a
bad
good
deal.
Well, to argue that you're a brilliant government set of policymakers and that's the position you're in is wrong. You're an idiot.
There's a lot of people walking by making faces at us because we're rogues walking around without masks.
Right. We can pretend we don't speak English.
But they'll.
Nie rozumiem angielsku.
So yeah, this is close by where that guy got beaten up from Atlanta.
Oh yeah, from the
Royal
bus.
Canal Street. I don't know where the buses come from Atlanta, but
I had no idea that you could get a bus from Atlanta to anywhere but the Port Authority.
and why you might want to take a bus.
Oh, you know what it must have been?
What?
There are certain Chinese bus companies that don't stop at the actual bus station, and it's like $1 to go to Washington, D.C. or something, but you get beat up when you
It's like a cartel.
It's called a glutton for punishment bus company or something, right?
Well, it's a good way to save money, I guess.
Not counting the hospital bill.
Right. Well, you know.
But under socialized medicine, that won't be a problem.
That's right.
You might need to wait a year for attention, but you'll get it eventually.
So, and what about our new Secretary of State, Abe Blinken?
Well, the speed with which this Biden administration is putting a stick in the eye of different countries around the world is just amazing to me. I mean, here, Barack Obama gets nominated for Nobel Peace Prize for showing up, and actually
Black Lives Matter gets nominated for beating up.
Right. Right. And so here's Barack Obama by the time he was nominated, had done absolutely nothing. I mean, one could argue that through his presidency, he hasn't done much positive, but putting that aside, in the first week, they canceled the arms sales to the United Arab Emirates and to Saudi Arabia, which were probably core elements in the deals that forged peace between UAE anyway and Israel, and will make it very difficult now, I think, to have any peace agreement between Israel and Saudi Arabia. You cozy up to Iran. You announce that you've been talking to Iran during the transition period.
Why don't they just do the same thing to him they did to Flynn then?
Well, I know. Well, because it's okay to break the law if you're a Democrat, but if you're a Republican, you've got to make sure you don't break the law. There's no contradiction in all that, Jason.
Double standard is the standard.
You'd have to have a standard.
I mean, the double standard is obviously a foregone. I mean, we know about that. The thing that's so amazing to me is that our fellow Americans, our friends, our family members, people who are watching this on the news who think, yeah, that's okay. Yeah. How can you possibly accept this?
Right. And then, you know, China's making noises that they're going to, they're saying that independence for Taiwan means war. Last I checked, Taiwan was independent, but you know, how does it make any sense for this Anthony Blinken, to have even been confirmed? I mean, he was very much involved. There's Podesta WikiLeaks emails. There's the laptop from hell. Apparently has evidence that he was intimately involved with Hunter Biden and the Biden family.
Blinken was?
Absolutely, yeah. Blinken's firm.
Abe Blinken.
Yeah.
Yeah, China invading the airspace for Taiwan within, days of inauguration?
Exactly. And you know, he's not really taking press questions from the press. We've talked about this before. It's a form of elder abuse to put him, I think, continue him on the line. And this may well be, though, part of the plan all along, that you just have him there for a short period, and next thing you know, you put in Kamala Harris, and who knows who they're going to put in as vice president in the event that campaign happens. That's why we had the dim sum of all fears. We have America is basically, I would argue at this moment under Biden, a vassal state to China.
Yes.
In less than a week, and the Chinese are letting people know that they're on the rise. They're bullshitting people to say that they're not in financial trouble, and the standard argument is we're the biggest market in the future. If you want to be in our market, you got to play our game, and that's the campaign they're on. And notwithstanding the fact that several, I don't know if you've noticed this, but in America, if you screw up a company like Jeff Immelt, you walk out, or GE, you walk out with $500 million. In China, if you screw up a company, they execute you. So on January 29th,
Really?
they executed, on January 29th, 29th? Couldn't have been 29th. Where are we today?
31st.
Yeah, on the 29th then, they executed the leader of something called HNA, which is a gigantic conglomerate that used to be Hainan Airlines.
Yeah, I remember. I know.
They executed him.
That's
Like,
crazy.
probably sent his family a bill for the bullet. Hitler style.
Yeah.
Well, why don't they do that to Hunter Biden?
I don't know.
I guess they still need him.
They're giving him an art gallery here in New York.
Yeah, we're not,
Does he do art?
I guess he does. But
Hunter Biden?
he does
Hunter
whatever he
Biden,
wants.
yeah. There's going to be an art gallery here in New York for him.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Just like that, you saw that the stepdaughter of Kamala Harris got a modeling contract.
I did see that, but I had to do a double take because she looked more like a librarian than a model.
There are some very.
Is that Serafina?
Uh,
The color treatment looks like it, and they're busy.
I don't know. It's a good restaurant though. We walked up on that side of the street last time we walked this way.
They're busy.
And somebody pointed out to me that Wagner is, super high-end skiing clothing. In case people want to go skiing.
Well, or just walk around today.
Exactly.
It's very sad. I mean, after this show, I'm going to be leaving to begin my road trip and the Ghost Town USA series. I'm not sure when I'm going to be back in New York.
OK Harris. What is that? Let's go to the right here just for a second. So
Not
let this
okay.
Stroller.
Kamala Harris.
The stroller rally continue. The Soho 500 of strollers.
Yeah.
This, you could imagine in the good old days when you could actually congregate and have fun. This would be a really nice part to hang around in the spring and the summer. You go Washington Square Park, we're going to get to in a second, a few minutes. Stroll around, look at stuff, buy stuff if you need to buy stuff. Have a nice meal, get in your car, go back to New Jersey, which is what a lot of people do on the weekends.
Well, it's quite amazing that you are referring to the good old days, not facetiously,
Right.
as when we were allowed to have fun.
No, you've got to go home and stew and atone for your sins, for being white and successful and
Yeah, white privilege.
any kind of privilege.
And then or multiracial whiteness also.
Exactly.
Multiracial white privilege.
That's what they call me now.
Oh my God.
Multiracial whiteness,
privilege?
yeah.
Multiracial white.
Well, in South Africa, people of Asian descent were honorarily white.
Yeah.
Were honorarily. Actually, I think Japanese people were honorarily. I'm not sure if all.
Was that by the people who were attacking the farms or the people who were doing
No,
apartheid?
the people who were not good people, apartheid lovers. But
When they invented, I think it was like the first time I heard about POC and BIPOC was, last.
Stop. Oh, POC, person of color?
Yeah.
And what's the other one?
BIPOC is what's it called? Black Indigenous person of color. So because it expanded from just POC to BIPOC afterwards to break apart everybody's color spectrum, because we got to be reminded about what color we are every single time. But so being Filipino and Asian, it didn't fit the narrative as to the story of what a BIPOC experience is. So they wanted to try and exclude Asians from being considered a person of color. To your point, what you were saying, that was still like part of like the trend in the pop culture that was going on here in America, that they wanted to exclude Asians because like Asian groups, they were saying, outperform those, and they're trying to make it that if you're a